Hello everyone, this is 3rd of March and welcome to this editorial discussion video. Before we start our discussion of the Hindu editorial, let me wish you first of all a very happy Holi. May this festival of colors fill lots of prosperity and happiness in your life. So thank you. With this, let us start. So this editorial is written by Stanley Johnny on Israel and US. Okay, an award to build a unipolar West Asia. Okay, so he is trying to emphasize that this war is aiming to build a unipolar West Asia. It means that there will be only one power, that will be Israel. Okay, and the rest of the countries will follow Israel. So that is what is the aim of this one. So let us try to understand in detail about this editorial. Okay, so it starts with on February 27, Oman's foreign minister Baad bin Hamad al Baseedi, who was mediating talks between the United States and Iran, told an American channel that a deal was within reach. He said Iran had committed not to make a nuclear bomb ever and not to stockpile nuclear material. The next day, the US and Israel began bombing Iran, killing its supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and dozens of senior Iranian officials. Israel described the campaign as a preemptive war to remove existential threats, while US President Donald Trump urged Iranians to take over your government, adding, "This will probably be your only chance for generations." It was clear from the way the initial decapitation strike was carried out and the remarks issued by Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu that what the invading bloc wanted was regime change. Uh, the Iranian government, despite the initial blow, has reorganized itself and is hitting back. West Asia, as a result of actions of Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu, is witnessing one of its most perilous moments in the post Second World War era. A conflict whose outcome will define the region for the decades to come. After the 12-day war in June 2025, Mr. Trump announced that he had obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Mr. Netanyahu declared a historic victory. So, why did they start another war 8 months later? Israel has always wanted regime change in Iran. For Tel Aviv, Iran is the only revisionist country that challenges its supremacy in West Asia. Arab countries, many of them hosting American bases or depend on American aid, have either established direct ties with Israel or accepted to live with Israel's militarism and its occupation of Palestinian, Syrian, and Lebanese territories. But Israel sees Iran, a country of 90 million people with enormous economic potential and an advanced missile program, as an existential threat. When the US President Barack Obama signed the nuclear deal with Iran in 2015, his focus was on addressing Iran's nuclear program. He believed that a non nuclear Iran would be good news for West Asia, where a cold peace between Tehran and its adversaries would be established. But Israel had a different understanding. Its problem was not merely Iran's nuclear program but its conventional might. That is why Mr. Netanyahu opposed the 2015 deal with all his might. Geopolitics of Iran. In recent times, when the US and Iran were engaged in talks, Israel had repeatedly called for a deal to include Iran's missile program and its support for non-state militias in the region. What Mr. Netanyahu wanted was a disarmament, total disarmament of Iran, or demand no Iranian leader except someone installed by Mr. Netanyahu in Tehran can accept. A Tehran-based security analyst told The Hindu on February 24 in unmistakable terms that Iran would not sign a deal with the US on its nuclear program. He said, If Iran agrees to surrender its ballistic missiles today to avoid war with the US, Israel will bomb us anyway a few months down the line. So the question Iranians ask themselves is why should they give up their last deterrent? The only way Israel could meet all its objectives was to bring about a regime change. Regime change would also be geopolitically rewarding. Saddam Hussein's Iraq is gone. Gaddafi's Libya is gone. Bashar al-Assad is in Moscow. Bashar Assad al-Assad is in Moscow while a former jihadist is running Damascus. Hezbollah has been weakened. Hamas has been pushed to ruins of Gaza. The Arab countries are unlikely to do anything other than issue condemnation letters. Iran is the last revisionist power standing. If the Islamic Republic is taken down, the regional the regional balance of power would shift, setting the stage for a unipolar West Asia with Israel fully backed by Washington at its center. This is more about geopolitics and Israel's own interest than about giving freedom to Iranians a capitation strategy. But there is a no problem. But there is a one problem. Iran, Iran, ring fenced by tall mountains and roughly 70 times bigger than Israel, is a geographical fortress. Israel alone cannot bring about regime change. Typically, regime changes are achieved through a ground invasion. Even then, it is not guaranteed. Israel pulverized Gaza, a strip of land sandwiched between Israel and the Mediterranean Sea, for 24 months and killed at least 70,000 of its people, but has not unseated Hamas. No country, including the US, wants to send ground troops to Iran. If an Iraq-style ground invasion is not possible, the other options are Libya or Syria. But in Libya and Syria, there was armed opposition to the regime that led the battle on the ground. In Libya, it took months long bombing by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization (NATO) to topple Gaddafi's regime. In Syria, which fell into disastrous civil war in 2012, it took 12 years for Mr. Assad to fall. In Iran, there is a no organized armed opposition. So, what Israel tried to do in June 2015 and February 2026 was to carry out decapitation strikes, give a blow so heavy that the regime would not stand up and fight back. In June 2015, the Iranians recovered from the initial shock fast and began hitting back. Mr. Netanyahu had said that regime change would be a desirable outcome of the war, but he had to ask for American help and then agree to a ceasefire after 12 days. In February 2026, backed by a more willing US, Israel has launched a much broader and more ambitious strike, killing Khamenei. Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu want a quick, decisive victory. But if they thought the assassination of the leader of the revolution would lead to the crowds jamming the streets and taking over the institutions, bringing down the regime, that has not happened, not as yet. Iran seems prepared for this moment and is hitting back at American bases across the region and Israel widening the war a regional war. During the 2025 June war, Iran's response was mainly focused on Israel. It launched a token strike on the US base in Qatar following an American attack on its nuclear facilities and subsequently agreed to a ceasefire. But this time, Iran is hitting American. Sorry, first, let us again start. During the 2025 June war, Iran's response was mainly focused on Israel. It launched a token strike on the US base in Qatar following an American attack on its nuclear facilities and subsequently agreed to a ceasefire. But this time, Iran is hitting American bases across the Persian Gulf kingdoms and Israel. Iranian missiles and drones have targeted a military base in Cyprus and a French base in the United Arab Emirates. Now, Iran has also announced the shutting of the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow choke point connecting the Persian Gulf with the Arabian Sea, through which a third of the global energy supply flow. This is a risky gamble. In 2 days, Iran has regionalized the war. This is the all-out war. Almost all critics of Mr. Trump's Iran policy had warned him about. The supporters of the war in Washington had said that Iran was bluffing, but it was not. If Iran continues to attack US bases, some of them were hit hard in the Gulf monarchies. These countries would be praised to join the war, and if they do, the cross Gulf conflict could have disastrous implications for energy trade, severely impacting the global economy. A prolonged conflict would also mean that the missile defense shields that are currently protecting these bases, Israel and other American assets in the region, would be exhausted. This means that the clock is ticking fast for both sides. It is unclear whether Mr. Trump was prepared for a scenario in which the Iranian state survives the assault. Washington and Tel Aviv aim to destroy Iran's ballistic missile stockpiles and its launchers to blunt its firepower. But if Iran retains its strike capability and continues to widen the war, the pressure on Mr. Trump would intensify. To be sure, there is a vast gap between the conventional strength of the US Israel alliance and that of Iran. Yet, conventional superiority alone does not guarantee victory, which depends on clearly defined and attainable objectives. If Mr. Trump seeks a swift and decisive triumph, Iran's doctrine is built precisely to deny it. Mr. Trump wants to kill the gorilla because, uh, as Kissinger would agree, the gorilla wins if he does not lose. So I think now it is clear that what they are trying to do, okay, US and Israel, because of the statement made by Prime Minister of Israel Netanyahu and the US President about the regime change in the US, sorry, in Iran. Okay, okay, I think now it's I think you understand very well now. Now there is a something about fiscal targets. Let us try to understand. Okay, what is this? So the release of new series of national accounts data is heartening improvement to India's key outcome statistics, but the data highlights some aspects that merit policy attention. The new series updates the base year of India's gross domestic product and gross value added data to 2020 to 23 from earlier 2011 to 12. This was a long overdue update since the earlier data was becoming more outdated and unrepresentative with each passing year. Apart from updated base year, the new series has several methodological improvements and new data sources for greater robustness. For example, the adoption of double deflator approach, which accounts for effect of inflation separately for intermediate goods and the final product, is a marked improvement in terms of setting the real value added of India's production. Similarly, the new series allocates multi-sector company output proportionately, improving sectoral data accuracy. The data on households will now be obtained from the annual uh, the data on households will now be obtained from annual survey of unincorporated sector enterprises and periodic labor force survey on an annual basis instead of relying on extra populations as was done in 2011-12 series. Notably, the goods data will be used in new series. The new series will also include new social methods of elimination for sector that historically been difficult to quantify, such as agriculture sector and the vast informal sector. All of this should yield a more accurate picture of India's economic size and growth. I think this much we can go with. Okay, because not very great detail they will be asking how the legal voting patterns have changed across elections. Though it is not important from the perspective of the examination, But let us try to understand, because we all are political. Okay, so let us try to understand what they are trying to say. Hindu Dalit voting patterns in the last two state assembly elections figures in percentage. Okay, so election of 2020. Oh my God! So 33% Dalits voted for BJP or NDA. 2025 that jumped to 60% voice. I mean, it's unprecedented. I mean, 60% of Dalits are relying on BJP or NDA. So similarly, in Uttar Pradesh, 2017, 21% and 2022, 28%. I mean, they are relying on NDA. I mean, they are, and in Assam, you see 70 and 72% Dalits are relying on NDA. It's a very, very huge. So this is the state assembly election. Yes. Now let us see in the what happens in the Lok Sabha elections. Okay. So it is before 2024. They voted around 31% voted for BJP, Congress 19%. Okay, and here you have the seats. Now let us try to understand rapture across dual line. Basically, this is talking about Pakistan and Afghanistan conflict. Okay, so you know that there is a conflict going on between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So let us try to understand. So, okay. So Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in intense military clashes, signaling a break in political, military, and societal ties across dual line, driven by differences over Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and collapsing strategic trust. The once carefully cultivated Pakistan-Taliban relationship now lies in tatters on an equal battlefield. Now, it's just we understand the gist. Okay, that much is good. Escalating cross-border strikes between Pakistan and Afghanistan expose a widening political and military societal divide between Islamabad and Kabul, despite earlier attempts at dialogue and de-escalation. Disputes over handling of the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan rising military militant activities in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, uh, Pakhtunkhwa and Pakistan shift to military approach to deepen mistrust between the establishment and the Taliban leadership. With clear asymmetric in military, economic, and diplomatic strength, the confrontation pushes the bilateral relationship into a fragile and conflict-prone phase. Now, let us see, is there anything else we can have for our today's discussion in the no? So you have business line, easy key bottlenecks in cities. See, we can read everything, but that is not the approach that we should follow, because not everything is going to be helpful for our examination. Okay, so again, a new West Asia disorder is born. Okay, so the same thing he is also trying to say that we have already discussed. Okay, in the Hindu, then you have meant the moral hazard of our fintech lending boom should worry us. The Iran war puts more than oil on India's radar. This is interesting thing. Moral hazard. Okay, what is moral hazard? So moral hazard refers to the fact that people take on greater risk when they are responsibly shielded from the negative consequences. Okay, so moral hazard refers to the fact that people take on a greater risk when they are personally shielded from the negative consequences. I don't understand yet. Then we have not much important government silence on killing. Uh, So Sonia Gandhi has written something about government silence on killing of Iran leader is not neutral, it is abdication. Okay, so we'll try to understand this one as well. Okay, for that, let us see if there is anything which is more important. So you have this explained Iran's power pyramid with the supreme leader at the top. Okay, so all about Iran you can see here. Marriage as a partnerships, High Court reframes the role of homemaker. Then after a strike on Iran, expanding threat of conflict in West Asia. I think every newspaper is talking about the Middle East crisis. Okay, the war. Okay, I think that much is enough for today's discussion. So we'll stop here and see there is something good. This is 16 finance comes. Okay, so I think we can discuss this one because this is going to come in our examination. Okay, so let us try to discuss. Okay, so 16 finance commission. You see, he is the Ramesh Pangadia who was the chairman, and all the members standing with the prime minister. So India's finance commissions are often viewed as technical exercise in tax saving, yet they are far more than accounting mechanisms. Every commission reflects a deeper constitutional conversation about equity, efficiency, and the evolving balance between the union and the states. The 16th Finance Commission, whose recommendations over the period 2026-31 is no exception. While the headline number retaining state share in central taxes at 41% suggests continuity, the report signals a subtle but important recalibration in India's fiscal federalism. The real significance of the 16th Finance Commission lies not in dramatic structural changes but in quiet rewriting of incentives. The Commission appears to move India away from a purely redistribution centric model toward a framework that simultaneously rewards economic contribution, fiscal discipline, and governance performance. This shift, if interpreted correctly, may define the next phase of cooperative federalism. Stability masking structural change. At first glance, the Commission appears cautious. The continuation of 41% share for state individual pool of taxes maintains predictability and avoids reopening contentious debates between the center and the states. Yet fiscal federalism is shaped less by aggregate shares than by criteria through which those shares are distributed. Yet the 16th Finance Commission includes notable changes. The weight assigned to income distance, the principal equalization parameter has been reduced, while a new weight has been given to a state's contribution to nominal GDP. Okay, so please remember that the weightage which earlier was given to income distance means how much the people of one state is earning as compared to people of other state. Okay, so that is called the income distance. Okay, and the principal equalization. Okay, so that kind of parameter is now the weightage of there has reduced, and a new weight has been given to a state's contribution to national GDP. Okay, so a state's contribution to national GDP. This is the new parameter that has been added. Okay, so here you have. So this is the most important. So if you see in 2015, 2020, 2025, 2024, UPSC has repeatedly asked questions from Finance Commission recommendations. Okay, so I will not surprise if they will ask the questions on the 16 Finance Commission recommendation, particularly this kind of statement they can make that the weight assigned to income distance and the principal equalization parameter has been reduced, and a new weight has been given to states contribution to national GDP. Okay, and they can give the option both statement 1 and 2 is correct, one only one is correct. Okay, this kind of thing they can give. Okay, this seemingly technical adjustment marks a conceptual shift. Historically, finance commissions emphasize horizontal equity, ensuring that poorer states received greater support to provide comparable public services. By introducing a GDP contribution parameter, the new formula incorporates an efficiency-oriented logic. States that drive economic growth are also recognized in the distribution mechanism. In effect, sorry, just a minute. Uh, in effect, India's fiscal framework is gradually evolving from pure equalization toward incentive compatible federalism. Equity versus efficiency. The tension between redistribution and growth incentives has always defined fiscal federalism. Too much emphasis on equity risk weakening incentives for revenue mobilization and economic expansion. Too much emphasis on efficiency can widen regional disparities. The 16th Finance Commission attempts to walk this tightrope. Income distance remains the target criteria, ensuring continued support for lower income states. At the same time, recognizing GDP contribution acknowledges that the high growth states sustain national revenue capacity. This dual approach reflects a maturing federal economy. In India today is no longer a uniformly low-income federation. States differ sharply in demographic profiles, industrialization level, and governance capacity. A transfer formula designed for a more homogeneous economy may no longer serve emerging realities. The Commission's recalibration implicitly recognizes the structural transformation. However, the shift also raises important political economic questions. Will richer states view this as long awaited recognition or merely a modest correction? Will poorer states perceive it as a dilution of redistributive justice? The durability of the new formula will depend less on its mathematics and more on political trust underpinning federal negotiations. Demography and politics of population. One of the most sensitive areas of previous finance commissions has been the use of population as a criteria. The 16th Finance Commission revises the demographic performance parameter, moving from fertility rate based measurement to population growth between 1971 and 2011. This change is more than methodological. It represents an attempt to balance competing narratives. A state that successfully control population growth seek recognition for responsible policy choices, while states experiencing higher growth argue that fiscal needs follow demographic reality. By shifting the metric, the Commission tries to depoliticize the debate, yet demography remains deeply embedded in India's federal politics. The question of whether fiscal transfers should reward past policy success or respond to present expenditure needs is unlikely to disappear. The new formula postpones rather than resolves this tension. The end of fiscal questioning. Perhaps the most under-discussed aspect of the report is what it removes. The Commission discontinues revenue deficit grants. The Commission discontinues revenue deficit grants, sector-specific grants, and state-specific grants that were part of previous framework. This signals a philosophical shift. Earlier commissions acted as a fiscal shock absorbers, questioning states with persistent deficits. I think this much is important for us. Okay, not much things are important. Okay, so just understand that those things which are incorporated. So first thing that you must remember that the 41% share the 41% share for states in the divisional pool of taxes from the center is again retained. Okay, and a new parameter has been introduced, that is the contribution states contribution to national GDP. whereas the weightage assigned to income, distance, and principal equalization has been reduced. Okay, so all these things you need to just understand. Okay, so Jamshedji data and purpose and the power of purpose. I think this is important because they can ask question in modern history. Okay, so I think basic thing we can just understand. Okay, so on March 3rd, as India marks the birth anniversary of Jamshedji Nasar Manji Tata, it is worth reflecting on a question that remains strikingly relevant more than 150 years after he laid the foundations of Tata Enterprise. Why do some companies endure for generations while others fade despite early success? Jamshedji Tata did not build businesses merely to manufacture goods and generate profit. He believed enterprise was a means to strengthen the nation, advance science uh, and education, and improve the lives of people. The beliefs a deeply held sense of purpose continues to shape the Tata Group more than a century later. It also offers a powerful lens through which to understand corporate longevity. Purpose is often spoken of today, but rarely with clarity. In his book, Deep Purpose, Harvard Business School professor Ranjay Gulati argues that purpose, when genuinely embedded, becomes an organization's operative system guiding decision shaping. I think not this is not important. I think I was just trying to get something from the life of Jamshedji Tata, so that if any question will come, then we will be able to mark it correct. But I don't think that reading around 300 to 400 words is important. Okay, so I hope that this much is clear now. Okay, I think let us see what Sonia Gandhi is trying to say. Okay. So on March 1, Iran confirmed that its supreme leader Ayatollah Sayyid Ali uh, Hosseini Khamenei had been assassinated in targeted strikes carried out the previous day by the United States and Israel. The killing of sitting head of a state in the midst of ongoing negotiation marks a grave rupture in contemporary international relations. Yet beyond the shock of the event, what stands out equally starkly is New Delhi's silence. The government of India has refrained from condemning the assassination or the violation of Iranian sovereignty. Initially, ignoring the massive US-Israeli onslaught, the Prime Minister confined himself to condemning Iran's retaliatory strike on the UAE without addressing the sequence of events that preceded it. Later, he uttered platitudes about his deep concern and talk of dialogue and diplomacy, which is precisely what was underway before the massive unprovoked attacks launched by Israel and the US. When the targeted killing of a leader draws no clear defense of sovereignty or international law from our country, and impartiality is abandoned, it raises serious doubts about the direction and credibility of our foreign policy. Silence in this instance is not neutral. The assassination was carried out without a formal declaration of war and during an ongoing diplomatic process. Article 4 of the United Nations Charter prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. A targeted killing of a serving head of the state strikes at the heart of these principles. If such acts pass without principal objection from the world's largest democracy, the erosion of international norms becomes easier to normalize. The unease is compounded by the timing. Barely 48 hours before the assassination, the Prime Minister returned from office visit to Israel, where he reiterated unequivocally uh, unequivocal support for the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, even as the Gaza conflict continues to draw global outrage over the scale of civilian casualties, many of them women and children. At a time when much of the global south, along with major powers and India's partners in BRICS, such as Russia and China, have kept their distance. India's high profile political endorsement without moral clarity marks a visible and troubling departure. The consequences of this event extend beyond geopolitics. The ripples of this strategy are visible across continents, and India's stance is signaling a tacit endorsement of this strategy. The Indian National Congress has unequivocally condemned the bombings and targeted assassinations on Iranian soil, describing them as a dangerous escalation with grave regional and global consequences. We have extended condolences to the Iranian people and to Shia communities worldwide, reiterating that India's foreign policy is anchored in the peaceful settlement of dispute as reflected in Article 51 of the Constitution of India. These principles, sovereignty, sovereign equality, non-intervention, and the promotion of peace, have historically been integral to India's diplomatic identity. The present reticence, therefore, appears not merely tactical but discordant with our stated principles. For India, this episode is especially troubling. Our ties with Iran are civilizational as well as strategic. In 1994, when sections within the Organization of Islamic Cooperation set to advance a resolution against India at the UN Commission on Human Rights over Kashmir, Tehran played a consequential role in blocking that effort. That intervention helped prevent the internationalization of Kashmir issue at that delicate moment in India's economic trajectory. Iran has also enabled India's diplomatic presence in Jehedan near Pakistan border, a strategic counterbalance. Jehedan near Pakistan border, a strategic counterbalance to development of Gwadar port and the China-Pakistan economic corridor. The Persian government would do well to remember that in April 2001, the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, during an official visit to Tehran, reaffirmed warmly India's deep ties with Iran, both civilization and contemporary. His acknowledgement of those long-standing relations seems to hold no relevance for our current government. India's ties with Israel have in recent years expanded across defense, agriculture and technology. It is precisely because India maintains relations with both Tehran and Tel Aviv that that it possesses diplomatic space to urgent restate. But such a space depends on credibility. Credibility in turn rests on the perception that India speaks from principle rather than expediency. This is not merely a moral proposition; it is a strategic necessity. Nearly 10 million Indians live and walk across Gulf. In past crises, from the Gulf War to Yemen to Iraq and Syria, India's ability to safeguard its citizens has rested on the credibility as an independent actor, not as a proxy. That credibility did not emerge by accident. India's independent foreign policy was shaped by non-alignment, not passive neutrality, but as a conscious assertion of strategic autonomy. It was a refusal to become subsumed into the rivalries of great power. The present, I think, let us stop here. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this.